Hi, my name is Karen, and I'm an American lay student of Ajahn Suchart, or Ajahn Suchart Abhijato, who's given me his permission to read his books to you for free. Ajahn Suchart's books and talks are always free. Any ads you may see or hear in this recording have been put there by the platform you are using to listen or view with for its own revenue, in exchange for letting us use their platform for free. Please forgive me for any mispronunciations of names, places, or words, and for any background noises, as I'm just making these recordings in my apartment with an unruly dog in the middle of a city. We are reading Beyond Birth, Ajahn Suchart, Abhijato, and Autobiography, which came out in December of 2021. And we are resuming today, beginning chapter 6, Beyond Birth. Once it exploded, it all disappeared, and nothing was left, on page 233. The first subsection in chapter 6 is on page 234, titled The Hidden Truth About the Body. Contemplation of the body is to learn the true nature of the body which we cannot see with our eyes. The body that we see is incomplete. There are many parts we cannot see, so we never get the true, complete picture of the body. Therefore, any decision that we make about our body is usually wrong. We are like a judge who needs evidence in the decision-making process so that a true judgment can be made. If the evidence is incomplete, the judgment rendered might not be fair or true to the situation. Our mind acts like a judge to decide if a matter is good or not, beneficial or harmful, belonging to us or not, causing pleasure or suffering, or if the object is beautiful or repulsive. We have to study our and everybody else's bodies. Human bodies are largely the same, with only small differences between them. We need to study them to see that all bodies are the same. What we can see with our eyes are only the 5 body parts: head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin. That is all we can see of a body, only a small portion. There is much more information that we don't see because we don't consider it. The Lord Buddha taught us to contemplate to see the truth of the body in its every shape, size, perspective, and dimension. When we see the entire truth, our decisions about the body will then be accurate and correspond to the truth. Right now, our decisions about our bodies and others' bodies are not made according to the truth. Instead of seeing a body as suffering, we see it as happiness. Initially, we have to contemplate to see whether there is anything in this body. What we can see are only these 5 parts: head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin. But there are 27 more parts that we cannot see. We have to learn and see these 27 additional parts for us to have a clear picture of the body. We cannot see the tissue that the skin covers from head to toe. Some parts of the body have more muscles, some fewer. There are ligaments called sinews connecting the bones, flesh, and muscles. The bones form the unseen structure of the body from the skull to the feet and all the way to the nails. If a bone is cut, the inside contains soft tissue called marrow. Then there are organs such as the spleen, liver, heart, kidneys, lungs, large intestines and small intestines, chyme and feces in the large intestines. Chyme is food we just ate. After we have consumed food, by the middle of the day, it has descended into the intestines. As for feces, it was the food that we ate yesterday or 2 days ago, and is soon to be expelled through the anus. These are chyme and feces. In our skull, there is material called the brain, completing the hard or earthy parts of our body. The liquids are the various water-based parts, of which blood comprises the largest part. The others are phlegm, bile, pus, fat, grease, tears, saliva, mucus, oil of the joints, and urine. These are the many body parts we do not see, hidden beneath the skin. Thus, there is a saying, a body is like a leather bag that contains the organs. All the components of the body are contained within the skin, which acts like a leather bag. This shows that the body is composed of the 32 parts and has no real self within. To see if there is a self in a body or not, we need to deconstruct it into parts and search for it, just as we would search for a key we think we had misplaced in a bag. The technique is to dump everything out of the bag until you know there's nothing left inside. Then you can see clearly whether or not the bag really does have the key you thought it did. It's the same when we think we are inside the body, or that the body is us, or that we are the body. When we start to look at it, we see that there is no us. On the outside, we see the head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin. We investigate the inside and see flesh, sinews, bones, and the other organs that make up the 32 parts. Then, where is our self? When we shave our head, what will the hair become? It will become part of the dirt and soil. If it belongs to our self, then it should come back again and be part of our body, should it not? But it does not do that because it was never ours. Everything that we cut off never returns. For example, if someone is in an accident and has to have an arm or a leg amputated, once the limbs are cut off, where do they go? They turn back into earth and water, etc. Because that is what the body is made of: earth, water, air, and fire. Hair comes from the earth, and when it is cut off and thrown into the garbage, it eventually gets buried under the earth. Water gets separated from the solid parts, the same as in amputated limbs, and all that remains of the parts becomes soil or dirt. Seeing this, we can conclude that in our body there is no self, just like when we did not find the key we thought we left in the bag. This body does not have a me in it. We are not to be found in the body. Thus, on the question of where we really are, the Lord Buddha taught us that we are in the mind. This is the hidden truth about the body. When we are able to see this truth, we will cut off our strong attachment to the body. We will be able to cut off anxieties and fear about the body. We can know that the body is not our self, but only earth, water, air, and fire. Sooner or later, it will return to its original forms, and nobody can prevent this. There is a quote next on page 237. Since we do not have open charnel grounds anymore, we have to make do with what we have currently. That is, we can contemplate that when we die, water will be poured over our corpse. When that is done, we will be placed in a coffin and kept chilled for 3 or 7 days. After that, we will be brought and placed into a kiln to be burned. Burning through the coffin, the flames will enter the body until it all becomes ashes. Contemplate in this way, and the mind will become calm. The mind will contemplate seriously and follow what's happening. If we were to compare this with watching a movie, it is like we are showing a movie of our life with ourselves as the director or producer. However, the movie screen is in our mind, and we are screening the movie in our mind, from our birth until our death. If we can contemplate in this way, we will be mindful of our body and develop insight at the same time. Keep separating out earth, water, air, and fire that come together only to create the 32 body parts. If we keep contemplating like this, until it sticks to the flesh, the eyes, the heart, never forgetting it, then we will no longer be disturbed by whatever may happen to this body. The next section begins on page 238 and is titled Letting Go from Body to Mind. When listening to Luang Ta's Dhamma talks, he would track the various levels of mind from the Sotapanna, stream enterer, going to the Sakadagami, once returner, to the Anagami, non-returner, and the arahant, revealing the various fetters, samyajana. One might not clearly understand when first listening to Luangta. Upon repeated listening, however, we would better understand that while practicing, we have to continually eliminate our various fetters. The first fetter comprises 3 aspects regarding the 5 aggregates. We see them as our self. Having seen them as our self, we have love for them. Having love for them, we fear that they will suffer or die. Once we contemplate that the body is not our self, worries about the body dissipate, and we can accept suffering and death. The once returner, Sakadagami, and the non-returner, Anagami, find harm in craving for sensual pleasures. To overcome sensual craving, we need to see the person that we want to have sexual relations with as a corpse, seeing the inside organs and not just seeing the outward appearance. We have to see the bones, the skeleton. People are afraid of ghosts, but they can sleep with a ghost every day without being afraid. That is because they refuse to see what's inside. They only see the outside, the skin and external features, and do not see what the skin is covering, such as the skull of the head and the skeleton of the body. If the body didn't have a skeleton, it would be just like a jellyfish. It wouldn't be able to stand and sit. It would just be slumped on the floor. The body depends on the skeleton as a structure, making it possible to sit and stand. There is a quote next on page 239. We have to let go of the body and sensual desire first. When you see a beautiful and attractive face, does sexual desire still arise? This is the problem to be resolved first before getting into the mind, which is faster than the body. There is another quote on page 240. Contemplate asubha. Contemplate the unattractiveness until there is no more love or lust. See everyone as just skeletons. This is asubha. Do not see anyone as pretty or attractive. See only the skeleton. See only the filth of the body. And the text then continues on page 241. Contemplating the body often will eventually make us see the truth automatically. After memorizing the multiplication tables, we are able to immediately recall the answer to 8 times 8. So when we look at someone who stimulates sexual desires in us, if we see the inside of their body, our desires will be doused. The more we can do this, the more it will become second nature. We can look at anyone both on the outside and the inside of the body, seeing them while they are alive as well as after they are dead. The practicing of contemplating these images cannot be done without samadhi, because we have to fight with the kilesas, which do not like it. When we do this, they will keep us depressed or uncomfortable, making the thoughts tiresome and making us want to stop the contemplation. However, if the mind is peaceful, these moods will be kept under control by samadhi, so that the mind will remain equanimous. But even equanimity can get weaker during the contemplation. So we need to recognize when the unwholesome feelings begin, stop the contemplation, and restart the samadhi. Even when wisdom or panya is developed, we still need to alternate between samadhi and panya. Contemplate until your mood changes. Then enter into samadhi to calm the heart again until it's full. When you have upekkha again, then withdraw yourself and continue with the contemplation. Contemplate steadily until it becomes useful and beneficial. When we think our asubha investigation is skillful enough, we test our mind by thinking about beautiful visions of a body to see if we would be aroused. If we are, can we use the thoughts of the loathsomeness of the body to douse it? When we think of asubha, a repulsive body appears in our mind. If we think of subha, beauty, and the thought of a repulsive body also appears in our mind, then our mind has gained the strength and eventually we do not have to think about it anymore. Previously, we could only see beautiful bodies without having the vision of a loathsome body to help resist our urges. If people can see repulsiveness when they look at each other, there is a good chance that engagement and marriage would not happen. This process takes long, consistent practice because when we are not meditating, kilesas will instantly occupy the mind. If we do not develop the mind to gain samadhi and contemplate with panya, then it will go the way of avijja pachaya, sankhara, thoughts conditioned by ignorance. If we can do this reasonably well, which helps to reduce the desires, then we reach the second level of enlightenment. If sexual desires disappear altogether, then after we die, we will be reborn in the pure abodes, not coming back to be reborn as a human any longer. The two fetters that always come as a pair are sensual lust, kamaraga, and anger and frustration, patigha. The Lord Buddha taught us to use contemplation of the repulsiveness of the body to help eliminate both of them. Once these two factors have been completely eliminated, there are no longer any concerns about the body. The next section begins on page 243 and is titled Open Heart, Open Dhamma. Once the issues regarding the body had been overcome, I knew to enter the mind. When looking at the fetters in the mind, I knew there were still the desires for the rupa jhana, absorption of the fine material sphere, and the arupa jhana, absorption of the formless sphere. When the mind has let go of the body, it enters jhana automatically. There were no thoughts of sensual desire to disturb the mind's tranquility. It stayed peaceful. But it was a temporary kind of peace. Sometimes other emotions would still enter the mind. The mind would waver, giving rise to a sense of irritation. I therefore knew that I was clinging to the calmness, so I had to contemplate that it was tilikana, impermanent suffering, and non-self. There was also the issue of conceit. There was still conceit. If someone would look down on me or say something that wasn't nice, I would still feel something towards them. Then I thought, what is this self? What is this really? Really, it's just the one who knows, thinks, and recollects. It still remembered being this or that, but this is merely perception or memory. We should know it as it is. I had to keep reminding myself that I am only the one who knows. As for the body, it has to go according to conventions. For example, if you have seniority, it has to go according to seniority. But someone might bow or not. I shouldn't go taking offense at that, or trying to force him to respect me, because there's no me. That's just a convention. When someone bows to me, they bow to the conventional me. But really, I have nothing. I'm just the one who knows and thinks, that's all. So I contemplated this intensively, to be able to let go of these fetters. Having overcome the bodily issues, it didn't take long before the mind and body were separated from each other while sitting in meditation. At that time, when painful sensations arose, I took up the contemplation of fire burning the body. I would visualize fire burning the body, visualize the body completely engulfed by fire, burning to ashes and crumbling to the floor. At the point when the body collapsed onto the floor, the feeling was that the mind and body separated from each other. The floor and the kuti became one, and the kuti became one with the ground. It was one whole piece, one solid mass. The body, the kuti, and the ground, one earth element. But the mind was in a state of peace and calm like never before. It was the highest peace I had experienced up to that point. After reaching this point, I began to contemplate sankhara, or mental fabrications, manipulating thoughts to see how thinking could change my feeling. I focused on the mental barriers to see where they originated from, and little by little solved these problems. However, I got stuck on one last issue, ignorance, Abhijato. I listened to Luangta, who said that ignorance meant we got lost in the mind, which sometimes became clear and sometimes not. He compared it to the two parts of a coconut or something. It comes with both. That is, the bright together with the not bright. It cannot be bright all the time. If we can carefully watch it, we'll see that at times the mind is bright or sometimes not so bright. This means that it is impermanent and not self. Keep watching the mind. The question will arise, why do I have to keep watching this mind and maintaining this brightness? That means that this isn't it. I still have work to do. My work is not yet done. So why should I protect this state of mind if it's just a natural phenomenon? If it's going to be bright, it'll be bright. If it's not going to be bright, it's not going to be bright. I don't want to do any work, so I just let it be. Leave it alone. While contemplating, I still had a habit of trying to keep the mind still and peaceful, since that had been my goal from the very beginning. However, in doing that, the task became a chore. So I began to contemplate that if the peaceful mind is real, I should not have to watch over it. If I had to watch over it, this meant my work had not yet been completed. I thought about how the mind had the three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, anatta, and decided to let it be instead of keeping the sati to control it all the time. I lived naturally, as if I had never practiced meditation, not protecting anything, just letting everything be. The mind is like a child that, when it has nobody to look after it, is very naughty and climbs up trees until it falls off. Of course, with my habit of taking care of the mind, I rushed to protect it, but the mind reminded me, you went to protect it again. Don't go and protect it anymore. Let it go. Let it fall. It will become whatever anyway, so just let it go and let it be. Just know it as it is. So I just let my mind go. Once it fell, it exploded. As soon as it exploded, it completely disappeared. There was nothing left. The moment it exploded, it felt equanimity. I didn't think of anyone or anything. It only felt that it was wonderful, knowing that there was nothing left. However, I realized it would not be the same for everyone. Until then, I didn't understand others' accounts as written in books. This is because it depends how each person uses their life experience to get to this point. Next, there is a quote on 246. Nibbana is a mind without poison or danger. It therefore doesn't need the protection of sati or panya. Like being in a safe place where no guards are needed. Having sati and panya shows that we are still at the stage of practice, but if the mind has reached the stage of freedom, the stage of nibbana, all the Dhamma that we developed, such as sati, samadhi, and panya, are no longer needed by the mind. This is because nibbana is a safe place. There is no longer any need for the Dhamma to protect the mind. This is sanditiko, something you can experience for yourself. And we're going to end there today. That is page 246. We'll begin the next recording on page 247 with a subtitle of Emptiness. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time with Metta. Bye-bye.